Hey guys, Mike here. So we got a huge week coming up here. I mean, boatload of earnings, all kinds of economic data. It is just a loaded week with either landmines or lottery tickets, one of the two. Okay, so you take your pick on that one. And so we're going to go into a few things to watch out for, definitely 5 things to be watching out for, because some of these stocks and indexes are starting to look pretty darn interesting, and usually things kind of align, right? And these moves that we've had, obviously last week from Wednesday to Friday, a little rocky and stuff, starting to get a little bit of a sell-off, that kind of stuff. And when you look right here, a few things to keep in mind. One is we did have some economic data come out on Friday from the Philadelphia Fed, and it's the 6-month forecast for pricing, and you saw it start to tick back up. And what this is telling us is, they might be projecting prices to start to move higher, and this is one of the things we just don't know, as we haven't been through it in so long, is will prices start to kick back up on inflation? And what's going to help it kick back up? And the reason why is because, you look at what's going on with gas prices. I hear a lot of you guys talking about this in the comments. Well, I mean, since the beginning of the year, they've been ticking back up, right? So that's one thing to watch. Another thing is going to be oil. XLE is something a lot of people have been trying to play and everything, because certain things are going up, right? So watch for crude oil. Since July, all of a sudden, we're going from 68 a barrel, 75 a barrel. And these conglomerates or cartels have been doing everything they can to try to push the price of oil up and everything by cutting production and things of this nature. So that's something else to watch out for. Another thing to watch out for here is, and I highlighted this in Friday's news briefing for the members, is I've been talking about these fear and greed indexes. I like to watch, 2 of them, and they were way out of whack, right? One tracks one thing, another tracks like 6 different indicators. But I even put on here, do you notice that these 2 fear and greed indicators all of a sudden are back in alignment, which is normal, right? And when we look at these, obviously the most famous one is this one right here, the CNN Business Fear and Greed Index, and it's been an extreme greed for weeks upon weeks. And normally when you get up in these areas, you get a pullback. Well, the other one I like to tracks how many stocks are in an uptrend, and all of a sudden you're sitting at 82 on one fear and greed index, and you're sitting at 81 because things get too bullish, right? And so when you start to get up in this range, it's at 81 now, and you get between 75 usually and 85, somewhere in that area. Yeah, you can expect pullbacks, right? And if that aligns with being way above the moving averages and all this other stuff, and a lot of stocks being overbought on the RSI, well, guess what happens? You usually get some form of a pullback. Don't mean it's going to be a crash like some people are calling for. It just means 5, maybe 10% or something on an index, which means the stocks might drop even more, but they're also starting to line up with what? These big earnings that are coming on, right? For these huge stocks that are reporting last week, Tesla and Netflix. This week you have a bunch more we'll go over. And when the market doesn't like these earnings because they have such a huge weight, where does the market go? And guys, before we continue, if you get anything out of this, please hit that thumbs up down there. I really appreciate it. And if you like the material here and the videos, think about subscribing. And so, of course, they're able to drive down these indexes, right? So everything's kind of aligning right now for that to happen. Does it mean it's going to happen? Absolutely not. But if it does happen, have your list ready, right? Stocks that you either want to add to, start a position in, or something like that, or whatever you want to do. Just FYI, or if you're way up 300% or something, maybe, you're looking to take profits, just pay attention to that kind of stuff. Another thing to watch out for is what's going to go on in defensives, right? And I heard Tom Lee talking about this, and he's a perma bull and stuff, but he said he don't think it's going to continue. And so what happened? You had utilities start to catch a bid. Energy is not defensive, but it started to catch a bid again. Healthcare started catching a bid. Materials started catching a bid. So we got to keep our eye on that. And then you're going to have seasonality, right? And when does the VIX usually have some of its biggest times? Is right here. It's going to be anywhere from end of July all the way through August is when it can start moving up, which means if it's moving up, that means S&P is moving down, just FYI. So, and people started talking about this months ago, and they were saying, yeah, the VIX currently isn't doing anything, but a lot of people are buying contracts, calls, and this nature, hedging for, August, September, October time frames. So again, this is just seasonality. So you got to watch out for that. What's another one? Transports, which have been absolutely on fire. Well, seasonality-wise, they don't do that hot in August. Why? Because everybody's going back to school, work, life returns to normal. And so, what makes up a lot of this, like transportation ETF, is a lot of airlines and things. I showed you this last week. So keep that in mind. What's another one? Again, we'll have to see if this plays out just because of where we're at. I don't think seasonality is really going to matter as much. But if you look at XLF, seasonality-wise, it doesn't do much in August. So who would that hurt? That would hurt the S&P, of course, right? That's why it kind of held up better last week, because financials and energy and everything were playing out, and transport and stuff like that, of which it carries, we're holding it up a lot better than what the Qs were doing because it's so heavily tech weighted and things. So just stuff we got to pay attention to, you know. Now, looking at the charts, obviously IWM, you know, had some red days there. It's below this trend line again. Obviously, still above the 50, the 200 day. Could have dropped back down that demand zone? Absolutely, and that's the key to watch. Is the hold up on that little shaded area right there, or are we going to end up going down to around 185 and hope that area holds? Because, you know, this doesn't move like the Qs or anything like that. So, and again, we've just had all kinds of problems staying above that trend line, catching a bid, actually, you know, really breaking out and going on a sustained run here, okay? And when you look at the MACD, it looks like it wants to roll over. Obviously, the RSI, though, looks still pretty good. It's not overbought or anything. So we got to pay attention to this because this is small caps. And again, it's not the environment for it whatsoever. So we just got to see. I mean, again, when you take a longer picture out, we've been stuck in this range, what seems like forever. And then when we're looking at the Qs, you know, looking at the weekly, a bigger time frame, you know, what are you seeing here? Obviously, you got the MACD down there. It looks like it wants to roll over, but the question is, are we going to get a true rollover? Probably not. Are we going to get one of these ones where it just kind of keeps, you know, bullish, bearish crosses, but just goes sideways and continues to just run down 5%, move up 10%, run down 5%, and then continue to move up? Or are we going to get a true rollover? We actually get a decent sell-off, right? That's pretty much what we're looking at on that one. And when you look at what's happening, I mean, you got the RSI down there on the weekly. It's setting, you know, higher lows, while, of course, the index is setting higher highs, okay? And so, again, that has to play out. This could take a few weeks, but it would make sense when you look at this from a larger time frame here. This really looks like what some people would call a cup and handle, right? Like the cup is forming as it comes up, right? And if the handle forms, that means it's going to come down and then take off. So if it comes down and takes off, well, it makes sense it's going to do a pullback, right? Whether or not it's going to be just that line, if you come down here, so around 335-ish, somewhere in that area, you know, could be the case. What the, you know, makes sense. It's not going to be a straight down thing if that happens, but a lot of people are on watch for that. So I want you to be aware of that stuff. Now, NVIDIA, obviously a big boy here, right? Fell out of this channel we've been talking about, almost completely filled this gap right here, which is actually a good thing. So I can finally get that thing off there and clean this chart up some. But really the magic number to watch on this one is this cross of this trend line and then straight across from that little double top area right there, what it looks like a double touch there. You say around 439.50. Like that's where you want to watch at. You know, you break that, then absolutely you can have much more downside in NVIDIA. AMD is the same thing. Again, we're sitting here with that trend line, a big supply area right there. But one thing that has happened, if we bring up the moving averages right here, and let me go ahead and grab the 50, what are we talking about? It was support. What happened on the daily? We fell through the 50. Okay, so now the 50 is above it. And so if this breaks, that trend line and that support right there, you know, watch out. I say 102, 103, somewhere in that area. Some people are calling for 97 and stuff, but I'm looking for 102, 103. If that's the case, watch that MACD to fall through the zero line down there. The RSI is already past the 50. So again, the AI hype has subsided now. So we're going to pay attention to this one very carefully. Obviously, what saved it really, I mean, Friday was it just got so oversold on the hourly. That's why I caught a bid when the algos kicked in. But now, of course, you got Meta. What did it do? Finally fell out of this rising wedge right here, coming down after just a massive move up. Two big red candles on this one. Obviously, earnings coming up this week, which we're going to talk about. So this could be big. Almost filled that gap down to the penny right there. But I mean, you look at this move, guys. 200, what was that, 60% move? I mean, since October, like, that is just unbelievable for a mega cap stock to move up like that. And they feel both. There was another big gap there. They feel both those big gaps. And so, you know, we'll have to see what goes on with earnings. Would it make sense for it to absolutely, you know, take a drop on earnings? Sure. That way big money can pick it up at a cheaper rate, because this one actually has a better valuation than most of them do. So just keep that in mind. Apple is not going to report this week coming up. It'll be next week, but it's sitting right there at the bottom of that channel right there, which has been in for quite a while, as you can see. And so we'll have to see if it gets more pressure to start coming down, maybe start filling that graveyard of gaps right there. You know, and a lot of people said a lot of the gaps on Tesla and the other stocks, oh, they won't get filled or whatever. And it's like, well, now you're seeing them filled. Like it happens really fast if that is the case. And you can see, it's RSI telling you, it's setting lower highs while the stock is still setting higher highs. So just keep that in mind. We've seen it play out multiple times. Now, earnings, you can see this thing is just loaded. It's like where to start here. Monday will come out of the gate. You'll have, You know, if you want to look at it like Domino's, Cleveland Cliffs, a lot of people are in. Whirlpool kind of let us know a lot about how the housing industry goes, because guess what? People have to buy appliances to put in their houses and stuff. And we'll see if that's still going on. Tuesday, Verizon, GM, 3M, Spotify, Nucor. Then you got the big boys, right? This is what can move markets. Microsoft, Alphabet, Snap's a small one. Visa's a big one, right? Then you have Teladocs, Texas Instruments, Wednesday, AT&T, Boeing, Coca-Cola, Tilray, Hilton, ADP is going to let us know about the job market. Then you'll have Meta. We just talked about that, right? Chipotle is a huge one. I mean, that thing is just, I don't know if it's still on fire. I ain't looked at it in a while, but it was on fire. Then Thursday, we're going to have Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, McDonald's, Southwest, MasterCard, Crocs, Valero, AbbVie, Honeywell. Then afternoon, let me get my breath. Enphase, Ford, Intel, Roku, Dexcom, T-Mobile. I mean, it's just a boatload of these coming in. Then Friday, we get to hear about how the oil companies are just, you know, making record profits and stuff. Exxon, Chevron, you have P&G, Charter, you know, and so we'll see how that one goes. And then as far as economic data, we know there's one big main event, but you will have a lot of data coming out every day this week, okay? Whether or not the market's going to listen to that data, whole different ball game. And so you'll have Richmond Fed manufacturing data coming out after all the S&P data. And then, of course, Wednesday, that's really the big one, right? Fed interest rates decision, and then everybody's expecting another rate hike, and then they'll do the press conference, so you have plenty of volatility to play on that. Next day, continuous jobless claims. You're going to have PCE prices, GDP, growth rate quarter over quarter. That's going to be a big one. Initial jobless claims is going to be coming out. Retail inventories, all the stuff. Pending home sales, Kansas City Fed manufacturing. Then the 28th, we're going to get core PCE data coming out. And so that'll be a big one to pay attention to. Personal income month over month, personal spending month over month. So like I said, every day is just a boatload of data. And then you have all the Michigan consumer sentiment data coming out as far as inflation and things like that. And so this will be a big week of reporting. I mean, I assume this is going to be an extremely volatile day, which, you know, makes sense in a way when you see the VIX seasonality, right? It's because you get a lot of big earnings, a lot of economic data coming out, a lot of things are stretched, you know, out there and stuff. The big difference is there's two different seasonalities, right? There's regular seasonality, and then there's when you have presidential elections and stuff, and things tend to be more bullish with the presidential elections, and when you're in a rise and supposedly coming into a new bull market and things like that. So again, take all that with a grain of salt, you know, again, but just don't be surprised. I mean, and pullbacks are healthy. Pullbacks are normal. They happen all the time. Okay, now these people calling for crashes, well, you know, I wouldn't remember a crash of 20% or more, but that's a little to the stretch there. But hey, you know, let them do their thing. I mean, and I just say, be prepared. Have your list ready if you want stocks, if you want to make, you know, add on some stocks or whatever it is, or go short, or, you know, take profit. I mean, this is your opportunity to look at all this stuff. Pay attention this week. Pay attention to earnings. More importantly, how the market is going to accept the earnings, right? Because we've been in multiple expansion. I've said it many times, right? You see these PE ratios and forward PE ratios and everything else, you know, just getting stretched to the hilt on a lot of these stocks. Well, at some point in time, you know, the piper's got to pay whatever the maker, whatever the saying goes, and they need to see some results in these earnings, right? So we'll get to see, more importantly, whether or not they're hitting top and bottom line, but really, what is the forecast? Are we going to get more Taiwan semiconductors where they're cutting? Are we going to get more like NVIDIA's where they say, hey, yeah, we're going to raise forward guidance or keep forward guidance? Like that's what we got to look at. So anyway, but you know, hope you guys got something out of it. Let me know what you think down in the comments and stuff. How you think this week is going to go, up, down, or just straight sideways? That could also be something, by the way, or not. So please hit that like and subscribe button, guys, and I will see you tomorrow.